It's funny how some words just carry the automatic negative meaning, right? Like nepotism. Most people hear that word and immediately think unfair advantage or unqualified relatives getting jobs. But I've been thinking about this lately and I want to challenge the perception, especially when it comes to certain professions. Let's talk about something that might seem a bit controversial at first: the potential benefits of nepotism, particularly in engineering and medical fields. Now, before you close your browser or hit the dislike button, hear me out. This is actually pretty fascinating stuff. First, let's consider what we mean by nepotism in these contexts. We're not talking about completely unqualified people getting handed positions just because of their last name. Instead, think about families where knowledge, skills, and expertise are passed down through generations, creating these incredible pools of accumulated wisdom. Take engineering families, for example. When you grow up in a household where your parents are engineers, you're basically getting this. Well, this immersive education from day one. You're not just learning from textbooks, you're living it. Think about it: dinner table conversations about problem solving, weekend projects involving real world applications, and exposure to complex concepts in a natural, organic way. I mean, imagine being a kid who gets to visit construction sites with their parents, or who help troubleshoot mechanical issues in the garage. That's like that's like getting a head start on understanding engineering principles before you even know what engineering is. And when these children eventually enter the same field, they're not just bringing their formal education, they're bringing this rich background of practical experience. Now let's shift to medical practices. This is where it gets really interesting. You know how there's tradition of medical families where generation after generation becomes doctors? Well, there's actually some solid reasoning behind this. When you grow up in a medical family, you're exposed to the realities of healthcare from an early age. You understand the commitment, the dedication, and most importantly, the human aspect of medicine. Think about a young doctor who's literally grown up watching their parent balance patient care with administrative duties. They've probably overheard countless discussions about complex cases, ethical dilemmas, and the importance of bedside manner. That's that's knowledge you can't just get from medical school. But here's where it gets even more practical: family medical practices. When a doctor passes their practice down to their child, they're not just passing down a business. They're transferring decades of knowledge about the local community, about specific patients and their family histories, about what works and what doesn't in the particular setting. That kind of information is absolutely priceless in healthcare. And you know what's really fascinating? The way these family connections can actually benefit patients. Imagine having a doctor who's not just qualified but also has access to decades of institutional knowledge about your family's medical history. They might remember treating your grandmother's similar condition or recall specific details about your family's genetic predispositions that might not be in any official records. Now, I know that what some of you are thinking. Isn't this unfair to others who don't have these family connections? And, well, that's a valid concern. But here's the thing: we're not talking about excluding others. We're talking about recognizing that sometimes these family connections can actually lead to better outcomes, more comprehensive care, and more efficient knowledge transfer. Let's consider the engineering field again. When engineering firms pass from parent to child, they often maintain important client relationships, understand local building codes inside and out, and carry forward crucial project history. This isn't just nepotism for nepotism's sake, it's about preserving and building upon valuable institutional knowledge. There's also this interesting cultural aspect to consider. In many societies, particularly in family businesses, the next generation is groomed not just with technical knowledge, but with values, ethics, and deep understanding of responsibility. They often feel a stronger obligation to maintain high standards because they're carrying on a family legacy. But, and this is important, this positive view of nepotism only works when it's combined with proper qualifications and merit. We're not advocating for giving positions to unqualified relatives. Instead, we're talking about situations where family members who are genuinely qualified and competent can leverage their unique background and inherited knowledge to provide better services. You know what's particularly interesting? The way this kind of positive nepotism can actually drive innovation. When you grow up immersed in a particular field, you often develop this unique perspective that allows you to see both the traditional approaches and potential improvements. You might be more willing to challenge established practices because you understand them so deeply. Let's talk about some real benefits here. First, there's the mentorship aspect. Having a parent in the same field means having a dedicated mentor who's invested in your success. Second, there's the preservation of specialized knowledge that might otherwise be lost. And third, there's this beautiful combination of fresh perspectives with established wisdom. I think it's time we started looking at nepotism with a bit more nuances. Instead of dismissing it outright, we should recognize that in certain professions, particularly technical and medical fields, family connections can actually enhance the quality of service and care provided to clients and patients. Of course, and I can't stress this enough, this doesn't mean we should abandon merit based hiring or fair competition. What it does mean is that we should acknowledge that sometimes family connections can bring unique advantages that benefit not just the individual involved, but the broader community they serve. So, next time you hear the word nepotism, maybe pause for a moment. Consider whether we're talking about unfair advantages or whether we're seeing the positive transfer of knowledge, values, and expertise across generations. Because sometimes, just sometimes, what looks like nepotism might actually be one of the most effective ways to preserve and build upon professional excellence. After all, in fields where lives literally depend on the quality of work, like in engineering and medicine, shouldn't we want to preserve and build upon generations of knowledge and experience? Something to think about, isn't it?